Welcome to Eye on Africa. I'm Clarisse Fortuné, and here are the top stories from across the continent. It's time for celebrations in Senegal, the now two-time AFCON champion. But this final will be remembered as much for chaos as for quality. Our guest will break down how Senegal kept their nerve and why this AFCON final is already one for the history books. The Congolese army says it has regained control of the city of Uvira following the withdrawal of the M23 armed group. After a period of initial confusion and conflict, a sense of calm seems to have been restored in the area. Heavy rains have flooded South Africa, Mozambique and Zimbabwe. Overwhelming rivers and infrastructure. Entire communities are now cut off. Mozambique has been the hardest hit, with more than 200,000 people affected. Now, Senegal have been crowned Africa Cup of Nations champions for the second time in the last 3 editions. The match swung on a late penalty, a walk-off protest, and an extra-time winner that stunned the home crowd in Rabat. Back at home, it is now time for celebrations.
We're proud of the players. We're proud of their focus, their vigilance, but above all, their maturity. We're proud of the Senegalese.
The players and their coach made the right decision. There were too many refereeing mistakes in the match. The players then managed to score and win.
And Ashley Nakazwe is a sport journalist, a football pundit, and she joins us live from Johannesburg. Welcome, Ashley. So you are in Johannesburg and you're from Zambia, I believe. So how did you guys live through the final game from there?
Hello, Clarice. Thank you so much for having me. Good evening to your viewers. Well, it was such an incredible final, unexpected. I mean, we always expect drama in the final, but what we saw last night was beyond expected. And it was nice to see how everybody across Africa, whether they were in the stadium or the ones that were watching through fan packs around, were awake to watch until the final whistle.
So the turning point seemed to be that late penalty decision. So can you take us through what happened quickly from your perspective?
I think tensions had already risen from when the goal was disallowed, when Senegal's goal was disallowed. Tensions had risen over. So when Morocco was given a penalty, you could see what had happened. Everyone now got very upset on the Senegalese side, from their manager all the way to their players. Hence, the players started to protest, because how was it that the referee was able to give Morocco a penalty, but quickly dismiss and disallow the goal that was scored by Senegal just a few minutes earlier. So I think the tensions were there, had risen from there. And then when the penalty was given, it just escalated from there. And you could see even the players had gone off. Some of the Senegalese fans trying to get onto the pitch. It was just chaos beyond chaos yesterday.
And also, of course, there have been some strong reactions, including Gianni Infantino, FIFA president. He condemned some players for the unacceptable scenes. Do you expect any disciplinary actions?
100%, there will be disciplinary actions. However, I'm not sure if it will be very a lengthy kind of penalty or fine for Senegal. It could be maybe just a warning, and if anything, maybe a little bit of a fine, but not something that is hefty, because it was intense. There was a lot at stake in that fixture from both sides. So I don't expect Senegal to get a huge fine, but they will get some form of disciplinary action.
So Morocco were chasing the first title in 50 years. So how crushing is this defeat for the hosts?
Very, very crushing. And you see in the post-match conference interview with their coach, he did say they haven't been close to a title in a very long time, as they were close yesterday. So losing it the way that they did, I mean, after having a penalty which could have secured their victory, it being missed, that was the worst that Morocco could have ever faced, because they literally felt it. I mean, they were experiencing the AFCON at home. So they had everything to play for. They had so much pressure behind them. Losing it is very, very devastating.
So from a broader perspective, so what do you think of this AFCON edition?
Oh, man, this AFCON was great. It was incredible. from the start of the tournament all the way through, except what happened last night. And that's why I'm not happy to see that a lot of attention is around all the chaos last night. But overall, it's been the greatest tournament we've seen. I mean, Cote d'Ivoire was amazing, but this one topped it off in all angles. There was a lot of fun experiences. There was a lot of corporate sponsorships. There was fans and media from all across the globe. It took a lot of, it drew a lot of attention. I mean, I know the trophy did come to Paris before the tournament has started. So that diaspora tour also played a huge role. So this tournament was very, very successful.
Ashley, and let's not forget, the AFCON is actually not over. There's the Women's Africa Cup of Nations in March.
Yes, I'm excited about that one because, you know, this one is a big one. For the first time, we have 16 teams after having 12 teams for a couple of years. And now 16 teams in this tournament, all wanting to get to the World Cup. Only 4 of them would make it. So it's a very, very great WAFCON. This one will be historic one. And even from all the teams that have qualified, I mean, you see Malawi and Cape Verde being debutants in this one. They also stand a chance if they can get all the way to even at least smell a little bit of the World Cup. So this one will be a very, very great WAFCON that is coming. Nigeria has to defend their title. It'll be nice to see if they can. But also, you see Morocco, after the men could not win the title, I think Morocco wants to at least win this one as well.
So, Ashley, well, let's talk again back in March.
Let's talk again back in March.
Thank you. And after Sunday's game, Senegal's football team captain and all-time leading goal scorer Sadio Mane hinted this could be his last AFCON. There's more on from Gabriel Nadler.
Two-time AFCON winner, Senegal's hero. The Lions' Sadio Mane said Sunday's final will be his last AFCON. It was Mane who brought the team back onto the field after the head coach ordered them off over a controversial penalty, cementing his reputation as a leader.
It would have been really sad to see that kind of scenario play out. Imagine going into the locker room and the football match stops there. I think Africa today does not deserve that. African football has evolved in an incredible way. It's followed all over the world.
The 33-year-old Senegalese player from the small village of Bambali has played in 6 AFCONs. Mane was also the star player in the 2021 final against Egypt, scoring the winning penalty to bring home the cup. In 2025, Mane was named the 8th highest paid football player by Forbes. Off the field, Mane is known for his charity, donating money towards fighting COVID and building a hospital, a school, and a mosque in his hometown.
First of all, I never want to be recognized after my career as a great football player. I just want to be recognized as a great human. Of course, I've been knowing as a football player, but still I want to be known as a human because for me, there are plenty things more important than football.
Although Mane said he is done with AFCON, he intends to play in the World Cup later this year, giving fans something to look forward to.
Sadio Mane, great player. Now to the latest in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. M23 rebels have now withdrawn from the city of Uvira, and Congolese forces have retaken control after initial confusion and fighting. Calm appears to have been restored. Emmett Livingston in Kinshasa has more.
M23 rebels in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo have left the city of Uvira. Rwanda, the rebels' backers, came under huge diplomatic pressure after the M23 captured Uvira in December. The move nearly torpedoed peace talks to end the crisis in eastern Congo. The rebels moved most of their fighters out of the city in response to this pressure, but finally on Saturday, the last of the rebels marched out of Uvira in what they called an act of good faith. This full withdrawal has nonetheless come as a surprise. It's not clear why it's happened now. The rebels have called for a neutral force such as the UN to take control of the city, but that prospect seems unlikely, at least for now. Initially, there was confusion in Uvira over the weekend with gunfire heard throughout the city. But by Monday, however, Congolese forces had marched in and retaken control. What happens next isn't clear. Congo's army fights alongside militia groups, and there are fears that the latter will sow violence. But Congo's government has called for calm. And in particular, it said that the Tutsi community, which is often blamed for the M23 conflict, isn't at fault.
In Uganda, it's now official. President Yoweri Museveni, already Africa's third longest-serving leader, has secured a 7th term in office, following a vote overshadowed by widespread technical issues. Meanwhile, opposition leader says he has escaped as police deny abducting him by helicopter. Our correspondent in Kampala, Juliette Montilli, has the latest.
Internet access has been restored in Uganda, and with it, a surge of reports is now emerging. Allegations of ballot stuffing and post-electoral violence, including assassinations and abductions of opposition supporters. But it may take time to get a clear and detailed picture of the situation, especially as uncertainty continues to surround Bobi Wine, the main opposition figure of this election. Officially credited with 25% of the vote, he said on X that he is now in a safe place after security forces surrounded his home. His party, the National Unity Platform, has rejected the results, describing the vote as a sham, criticism echoed by many civil society actors. The key question now is what the opposition will do, particularly after during the campaign, Wine had called for protest in the event of a fraudulent election. For now, however, most of the country has remained calm. In the streets of the capital, Kampala, people are going about with their daily lives, and the security presence is clearly lighter than in previous days. As for the re-elected president, Yoweri Museveni, he said his landslide victory demonstrated the dominance of his party and described members of the opposition as terrorists.
Gunmen have abducted more than 150 worshippers in coordinated attacks on 3 churches in northwest Nigeria. The assaults took place on Sunday in Kaduna State as services were underway at 2 Protestant churches and a Catholic church. At least 168 people remain missing. No group has claimed responsibility. Kidnappings are now widespread in northern Nigeria, where armed gangs regularly target remote communities. Heavy rains have flooded South Africa, Mozambique and Zimbabwe, overwhelming rivers and infrastructure and leaving entire communities cut off. Mozambique has been the hardest hit, with more than 200,000 people affected. Warnings have been issued of more heavy rains ahead, heightening flood risks. Laurent Berstecher.
Ruptured dams and submerged highways. The southern Mozambican province of Sofala is almost completely underwater. With all of the region's major roads swallowed by the floods, search and rescue teams were forced to improvise as they attempted to reach isolated survivors.
The Mozambican Red Cross, the ones who have been supporting the evacuations in the field, they've been telling us it's increasingly hard to access communities. They've been using small fishermen boats when possible to reach the people in need.
All across southern Africa, weeks of torrential rain have caused rivers to burst their banks, destroying entire villages. Nearly 500,000 people have been affected in Mozambique alone, where flash floods have left many families stranded and still waiting to be rescued. In Boane, a few kilometers away from the capital, the army was dispatched to help with search and rescue efforts, but also to make sure the population abided by evacuation orders.
We have zero tolerance for people who are in the danger zone. If they don't leave voluntarily, the government and the army will force them to move, because this is an emergency.
In neighboring South Africa, which was also heavily affected by the floods, authorities on Sunday declared a national emergency as weather services warned more rains and even a potential cyclone were expected to hit the region in the coming days.
And this concludes today's edition of Eye on Africa. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned for more news coming up on France 24.